All right, it is now 5:31. We do have a quorum of 4 voting members in attendance. I'm not sure who else is going to be able to make it or who cannot. So we'll see. We'll give them a few minutes. I went over to the old library, to the new library myself, thinking that we were over there. And then we'll get started and hope that a few other people come in. So why don't we go ahead and review the meeting minutes from last month or earlier this month when we last meet.
August 29th.
Okay, last month then. And did anybody have any omissions or corrections to the meeting minutes of August 29th? All right, hearing none. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I still move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, perfect. Moving on, do we have any member updates? Any staff member updates?
Oh, all right. It took me a second. So the statistically valid recreational needs survey has officially gone out as of today.
Okay.
So we're hoping that we'll be able to have the results back in time to add it into the open space plan. I'm also trying to reach out to DCR to see if we do turn in the document as a whole, if they would allow us to add it on later as an addendum. But I think Melissa is out on vacation right now. So I'm like, should I introduce Kate? Hi. So Kate Jacobson is one of our park commission members. Aaron Morse has decided to resign from the park commission. Oh. So Kate was nominated and elected or voted to become the representative for open space, recreation, and planning. So,
oh, great. Well, welcome aboard and thank you for stepping up. Have you been sworn in yet?
No.
Okay.
Next question.
That's the big pitfall.
It is, yeah.
Well, it's just happened Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming tonight, regardless, and your input will be greatly valued. So happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any public inputs? Well, we don't really have any public. Mark, did you have any updates or anything that?
No, I sent you with a list of things earlier that I thought I was playing.
And I did forward that to Jack and Peter, so that will be part of our discussion tonight. Excellent. All right. So Jack and Peter, do you have any updates outside of our discussion items tonight?
I don't believe we do. Yeah, I think we're ready to jump into the content of the agenda.
Perfect. All right. Shall we get started with the drafting of the open space and recreation plan vision statement and goals and priorities?
Actually, I think if it sounds okay, we'd love to discuss the public meeting next week first and just make sure we cover that, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of the goals, objectives.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
Great. All right. Well, I will share my screen again.
Let me make you go.
Oh, thanks. And actually, it's actually really like this camera setup that we can actually see everybody in the room. It's nice.
At least the backs of your heads.
Right.
It's weird because you have to turn to talk to the camera and then look to what you're responding.
Oh yeah, right. I guess we can't see quite everybody. Yeah. Okay, I'll share my screen here. So what we have in mind for tonight for our meeting is looking at our plan for the public for next week's meeting, and then going through any final thoughts or revisions from the committee on the community vision, and then looking again at the goals, objectives, and actions, or goals and objectives which we've seen, and looking at some actions, and seeing how they line up, and if there's revisions we want to make on that before the public meeting. And then we will, I think that will probably take us as much time as we can give to it. So we'll see where we're at in an hour and a half or so. So for the agenda for next week, we want to, the two objectives we have in mind are to share the process of creating the plan, the public meetings we've done, the survey, the inventory, the work the committee's done, and the discussion we've had with staff. And then what are the key findings that we've learned? And then to gather community input and priorities on the draft that we've created for the vision and for goals and objectives and key actions for each of those 4 goals that we've looked at. And so we're hoping that if we've missed something, that this meeting is a chance to gather that from participants, and also to learn if there's things that people really care about, if they rise to the top of their list for priority actions that for the town, we want to gather that input so it can be in the plan. We'll get some of that from the committee, from you all tonight, and if you have ongoing input on that, but also if there's anything that we miss together, this public meeting is a chance for anyone in the town to provide that input. So we're going to spend a good chunk of the meeting, 45 minutes, in breakout groups. And our plan, depending on how many people attend, we're thinking we might have stations that people can go at their own pace through if it's sort of a smaller group. If it's a large group, we'll have maybe everyone we'll divide up into 6 groups, and we'll give everybody 5 to 10 minutes to go through the 6 stations in 45 minutes, and have some, we're going to have a map of the proposed actions, and looking at, so the stations there are the numbered 1 through 6. So vision and values, goals and objectives, and then some of the draft actions that we've identified for those 4 goals focused on conservation, recreation, stewardship, and public engagement. So I think we'll be poised to be flexible about if we're going to have divide everyone up into 6 groups and have time limits, or let people go through those different stations at their own pace. And one of the things we wanted to learn is if you all have a sense of what the attendance might be for next week.
I truly don't know. On the Facebook page, we have 9 people that say that they're going, and there's 20 that are interested. But we also did another big email today as well. So, and we have posters and things around town. So, we may just have people that wander in.
And I noticed it might have been a problem at my end, but I noticed it's not on the calendar for the town.
Okay.
And the link on your page and the town's webpage doesn't seem to be working.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I will definitely check that out and see if I can update that. I know we just switched over to a new format. So I'll see, and then also see if I have, approval to be able to edit it. Might not. Okay.
So how many was it your sort of recreation department link to or list of
We have
emails?
an event out on Facebook. Yeah.
Right. So obviously the more email lists we can put it on, the better.
Yeah.
Other departments and so on.
Yeah.
Put
I
up
know
Littleton Trails again too.
that. Yeah, I did that one.
I saw a little bit.
Yeah. I know Elder and Human Services has been, pushing it to the seniors as they've been doing their events the last couple weeks too.
So you should be able to put a flyer at the library too.
I put one there. Yeah, I put one there.
I know you put a lot of things in the school emails. Is there anything further you want to go out? Friday, principal.
I can try. I just know a lot of that stuff usually gets buried because there's a lot of information in there and not everybody would like to click on the links. So, but I can ask them for sure. That's a great idea.
Alicia, this website, this page is open. It's working.
Is it?
The Open Space and Recreation Committee
Okay.
page. I mean, I'm in
What
it.
does it look like though?
It doesn't have, it's got our meeting today, but
This is a new one.
Does it have?
Does
it doesn't have
Next
this,
week.
it doesn't have
Okay.
next week's meeting.
Okay, so I'll make sure I get
But
that.
the page itself seems to work.
Oh, but you know what? That
Surveys.
survey shouldn't be up still.
Yeah.
So that must be the new stuff. Okay. I will fix that tomorrow. Okay.
So one of the things we're thinking of is we'll print out the sort of actions for each of the goals on large posters and let people vote on them.
Uh-huh.
You know, the usual sticker dots. Try to get a sense. It's, you know, it's fun and somewhat engaging. You've done it before, I'm sure. Did you have any other suggestions or comments on this approach for the workshop?
No, I mean, I think it's nice to be able to have some like bigger group, the more options for the groups, just because you're gonna have a smaller amount of people and it seems like you might be able to hear everybody's thoughts a little more expediently. Cause I feel like last time we would have people kind of like linger and keep, offering stuff, which was great. But it was hard to get them to move on to another station, so that might help.
So sorry, Alicia. What was what's your comment there?
Let me turn this way. Hi. So the comment was that having more like having those 6 options for folks to be able to talk about things is a better option than I think we only had 3, maybe 4 last time, where we would have the group of people would just kind of like stick in one group and stay. So it's hard to get them to move on to the next one.
Mhm.
Where this way you might be able to hear what everybody's saying quicker and be able to, move them through the line easier. That's my thought.
Yeah, I guess there's no telling about how I guess, and correct me if I have this wrong, Peter, but I guess we will still want to try to move people through all 6 of these stations, but maybe have a little less time because we have 6 rather than 4. But yeah, hopefully they won't be quite as involved as the mapping exercises. They'll be involving maybe some stickers, some dot stickers. Show
And
preferences.
at the end, we'll come together and have a large group discussion with everybody, try to see if there's any clear priorities among all those actions we've been listing.
Yeah. So
That's the plan.
that last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. This actually doesn't come out to a full 2 hours. So there'll be some a little bit of squishiness if we want to maybe have a little more time for the final discussion, to try to bring everything together as best we can, or have people to share out. Well, great. If that sounds good to the committee, then we'll plan on putting this together for next week, and are looking forward to being in person again. I forget actually where the meeting is. Is it in the same? Is it in Reuben Hoare? room
Yeah, it'll be
again?
in the same room that we used last time.
Okay, great. All right. So next we wanted to walk through, well, I guess I'm sorry, you've had a chance to think about the vision statement and the goals and objectives a little bit more that we went through last time. So if there's any revisions to that or further thoughts on that, this is a great time to consider that. Here's the vision statement we drafted. We had some feedback we talked about last time about how it's organized, and that I think we concluded that the organization might work if either through formatting these in different columns with sort of a heading, or giving a brief note introduction can help people know that this is not an order of like priority. It's sort of organized by conservation, recreation, and connectivity, and stewardship and engagement. So I think we haven't made any changes to this, and if it seems good with the committee, we'll go forward with it. But we're open to any further thoughts on this right now.
How does the committee feel about this? Are there any other lingering issues with this that we think we should address, or?
Adequate seems a strange word for this.
Adequate, did you say?
Yeah, it I understand the intention, but it seems like it'd be better without the adjective. Might be better without the adjective, or adequate is almost a semi-negative. It's in many
Yeah.
cases, right?
That's true.
We're giving up too easily.
Yeah.
Subpar.
It's just enough.
Just enough.
Well,
So just take it out, I think.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, could it be like, I'm still stuck on the adequate thing, sorry. Could it be like, safe and well maintained?
Or go the other direction and say exceptional.
Oh, exceptional. I like that.
Go for it.
That's actually a pretty good idea. I like that.
Well, do you need
That's your
exceptional
choice,
then?
not mine.
But we don't.
Yeah.
Especially, it's a vision. Yeah, well,
This is your
but it says-
dream.
yeah.
So
Well, there is a part of this that's
You
Big
don't
deal.
provide it. I know you. Love you.
the part that's for all ages and abilities is part of what sort of setting the standard there, that it's not just any old fields, playgrounds, and facilities, but it can meet a variety of ages and abilities.
Jumping back, what if we said by providing needed athletic fields, playgrounds, and facilities? Does that, or do you think leaving it just like that is?
That's a good suggestion. What do other people think?
That would assume that we always provide for it. We don't.
But in an ideal vision of the town,
But isn't this supposed to be used towards getting grants to?
But this is our vision, what we would like it to.
This is what some of the future
So-
is saying about Littleton. People had to sing into me.
So the vision then is to provide more. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about a lot of the stuff that we're looking at, like all of the categories, yeah, we're trying to do more to protect water. We're trying to do
Right.
more to protect
Right.
farms. So in essence, yeah, we're just trying to do better.
World class.
World class.
Let's jump it down.
So
our
we say
vision.
Littleton invests in, Littleton strives.
Strive.
More than adequate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we strive.
Just adequate and a feather.
I like that. Littleton strives to invest in
Yes.
community health and youth development
Right.
by providing and maintaining needed athletic fields,
Right,
playgrounds.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't strive to invest, we are investing.
Yeah.
Might not be to
I-
everyone's level of investment.
Right. We strive to do that. We don't succeed.
So,
You know,
so
No, I hear you.
I'm speaking on the athletic side.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's
That,
a little bit of everything, maybe it's not as much as we need.
but we strive to provide it. So when
Yeah.
there's a need for something, i.e. pickleball comes
Right.
up,
I try.
we
We strive.
we
You
strive.
strive. Hey, that works.
What would you then say, put the striving, community health and youth development by striving to provide?
I don't think you strive in a vision statement though, right?
Okay.
That's watering down the vision statement even too far.
well, another possibility is I think this is always the challenge of like trying to have everything encompass everything without it getting so wordy that it becomes hard to comprehend or read. So,
Right.
but
I think just taking out the adequate is the best solution in my view. And just leaving it without the verb, the adjective.
That works.
and if it's not clear, in this linkage here where it says, athletic fields, programs and facilities and inclusive programs for all ages and abilities, we could replace for with to meet the needs of all ages and abilities or all residents or something like that to meet the needs. If that's sort of an element that feels important to emphasize.
More words.
You could look that way and tell them.
We need to add more words.
Is the bolding phrases for a reason?
I don't think that's intended to be in the final draft. The only reason that they're bolded was to make a lot of text to try to make it pull out the key themes for the purpose of this discussion. That's it. It probably doesn't help actually.
So can I move on to something other than athletic fields? Because I think the statement about protecting working farms is a great one, but I didn't actually see anything really in this plan that protected farms. That we're protecting farms by preserving open space, which is not the same thing as farms. Right, there needs to be more, if we're preserving farms, that's not the same thing as preserving a field, right, that isn't farmed. So if we're doing something, I fully support protection of the farms, but this plan doesn't really call out how we're protecting farms as opposed to protecting the open space that is the farm.
So if I understand, I'm sorry, who is that?
Mark,
Oh, Mark, thanks. If I understand what you're saying, you're talking about the land use and the actual practice of agriculture rather than just protecting the land.
yes.
Yeah. Great. Well, let's bookmark that and bring that back into the discussion for the objectives and actions and see if we can make sure to address that there. Do you have any objection to it being here?
No, I don't, I think it's great being there. I just think it needs to be elsewhere then as well. That was my point.
Cool.
I have to run.
Oh, yeah.
I have a planning board meeting.
It was 6:30.
One, it's 6. I just want to make a quick comment. At the last meeting, I was a little sort of mystified about how the action, part of this would work. And I'm just going through it. I see now. But I was so dismayed by one of the very first items where it's like 1B3, create an inventory of heritage landscapes and resources, DCR's 2006. Well, we have lost at least 2 of things on the list, the Parley Sawmill and the long store. I don't know what that means, but we didn't do it in those cases, so. And maybe you should,
So that's,
it's a little embarrassing, maybe take it out.
Take it out. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what you're here for. Thank you.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to miss that. Should we move on from the vision statement? And yeah, probably for the sake of time.
Sounds good.
Okay. Just to clarify, was there any other thing we wanted to do with the first sentence of the second paragraph that I only eliminated adequate? Is that what we decided?
I think that works. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, here are the 4 goals that we discussed. They changed a little bit. The first 2 changed slightly in the areas in red. And I think what we'd like to do is walk through these. What we talked about last time is that maybe by looking at actions, it'll help us identify what are the objectives meeting what the actions that the town actually wants to implement are. So we sort of from my understanding, we decided to take sort of a backwards planning approach and see what actions we wanted to have, and if we were making sure to cover those in these goals and in the objectives. So we have an action plan, a draft action plan. I emailed it to you late this afternoon, so if you didn't get to see it, it should be in your inbox, and you can follow along there, and I'm going to pull it up on my screen as well.
a papery thing.
A papery one. Thank you.
Ivan, you want one?
Thank you.
I was there, but I'll take
Okay.
it.
I printed some out.
Thanks, Alicia. So, let's see, just anything here to stay before we look at it. I think, yeah, so the basic organization and structure of this action plan is we took each goal and created a table that has on the first column objectives, the objectives that help reach that goal, and then the actions that are the concrete steps required to meet that objective. And then in terms of organizing the objectives, rather than listing the objectives in a list by priority, they fell into 3 main groups. We had planning objectives, and then we had objectives related to implementation of those plans. And then we had objectives related to coordination and funding. So sort of what are the resources required to pull that off? So that's the overall organization of the table. And so, we go left is at the top is the goal for this is the table for goal 1. We have the planning, we have the objectives related to that, to conservation, and then actions for that. We haven't filled in any of the who, when, and resources, although we have some of that information already. But rather than spending much time filling that in right now, we want to make sure we feel settled on these actions. So sort of with that in mind, and then the actions themselves are loosely organized in order of priority. So for example, Jerry shared a list of priorities from the BPAC, and we tried to put those actions that the BPAC had prioritized at the top of the action list for any particular, whenever they came up, to list them towards the top. But there may be, that's subject to review by you all and by department heads about what actually feels like the top priority actions. And that's not something we can know necessarily, and that probably will shift. But so that could be, or all of this could be organized differently if it feels like it would be helpful to do that. And the goal here is to have a clear system for knowing how to navigate through the document. That said, there's a lot here to cover, because we have 4 goals. Each one has 6 to 8 objectives, and then each of those objectives have 1 to 4 to 5 actions. So, and we want to make sure we're kind of not boring people by going through this, but also drawing on the specialized knowledge that's in the room. So for some of this will be like really relevant to some of you, and some will be more, not relevant. So we're open to suggestions about how it feels best to move through this. The goal is to sort of take any revisions with the highest level, and see how the actions are aligning with our vision and values, or your vision and values.
I think, Jack, I think probably our goal tonight is, we don't need to parse all these and make all the decisions tonight. But really, this is what will be sort of taking people through next week with those small group breakouts, or however we handle the stations. So we just want to make sure that we don't have anything on here that shouldn't be on here, like you really disagree with, or this is a really stupid idea, or there's no way to do this action. And then also to make sure that we're not missing anything that really needs to be on here. So we don't need to make all those decisions tonight. So I think if we can sort of go through it fairly quickly and make sure that you all understand why things are in there, and then we can sort of between tonight and next week's meeting and afterwards develop the final list.
Yeah, and another note about how the process for this, we started looking at the 2016 actions and using interviews with Alicia, Amy, and some of the Littleton Electric Light Water Department folks. We sort of refined what still feels relevant, and then we also looked at the master plan, which has some good additional ideas that weren't in the last OSRP, and we looked at the bike ped plan, and we looked at some of the comments that we got from you all, and then we had some of our own ideas, and so we tried to refine the list of actions as best as possible from that process. So here we go. Or any comments before we?
Just respond to your top question on that column about if we monitor chapter 61 lands, we don't. And I'm not even sure we necessarily have the right to. We do the conservation restrictions.
Okay.
But not 61.
Okay. All right, thanks, Amy.
I have a question on goal 1, too. It says drinking water quality. Could we just do water quality? So it's kind of opens it up.
It's broader.
It's broader. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so these are all related to conservation, land conservation. So one of the master plan recommendations was to kind of create a system for prioritizing and create some criteria for prioritizing land to conserve. So the first couple of objectives here are about creating capacity for that, creating a system that coordinates between different departments and committees and stakeholders to establish some criteria. Now, there might already be that criteria that maybe, Amy, you might have that criteria, or anything that if it feels repetitive, we can get rid of it.
And we don't have written criteria at this point. We will go through the natural heritage maps and all the Mass GIS, and depending on the property, pull in who might know more about the property. But we don't have, for instance, criteria that's going to weigh a piece of property that can be used for a park or a piece of property that protects a farm.
We had in the past put together a draft, almost like a rating system for properties in terms of land acquisition. So instead of listing, like the Smith property is number one on our list of properties to buy, since most properties come up randomly, we may not get the number one parcel to pop up. So people often ask, why is it this property that we have to preserve? And so the commission had looked at a few years ago, putting together like a rubric with certain qualities that the townspeople and the commission have identified as being attributes of a property that we'd want to see preserved in terms of resource preservation, characteristics, historic aspects. So it has been done, but it hasn't been fleshed out. It's something that we should definitely look into in the future, but nothing concrete at the moment.
It was actually good. You put together a draft, and the frustration is that was ignored by the town, like by the land sale committee and other people like that. And yeah, one of the things was adjacency to other conservation land or being removed by one parcel. And that was completely ignored and land was sold off. So yeah, it would be good to dig that out. I mean, there were good characteristics there.
So we should definitely revisit it.
Yeah.
I think the criteria that like you said, wouldn't want to rank them,
Yeah.
because if parcel number 6 comes up and they say, well, we're not gonna spend any money, it's only parcel number 6. So it's,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the opportunity that.
Bullets
It
in
doesn't
the
check,
matrix,
it
not-
doesn't check 8 out of 10 boxes.
it does tend to be
Good.
reactive if the property's up. Right.
The other thing that, I don't know where it fits, is do we have a goal, a target of, over whatever this is, 7 years to add X number of acres, or?
If you look at it,
Whatever, yeah.
if you look at what we currently have versus other towns, I think we're at somewhere around 15% right now in terms of preserved open space, just pulling that right out of thin air.
It's a little weird because some of them are misclassified.
That's true too. So maybe it's a little under 50.
So that's part of wherever this was in here, start looking at parcels and
Yeah.
which we're in the middle of doing.
It was between 14 and 15%. And the Mass Audubon losing ground report did fairly well. I know Amy said some things have changed a bit, but one of the frustrations are people wanting CRs put on their property and the conservation worthy properties as completely ignored. And what usually happens, like Church Meadows, saying available, then a developer comes along, raises the price, the town refuses to pay the extra amount. I know the Conservation Trust and other people raise money. I mean, it's very frustrating. It's very reactive. Whereas, right now there are 11 acres next to where the on Sanderson Road and Wickham Ave that the Sanderson family has Zone 2 next to the new water plant. Low impact agriculture is down on. In fact, Jerry is leasing some of it. And it should be reserved. I mentioned a selectmen's meeting, everyone was excited. Mention again, the next meeting, one selectman who was against conservation killed it, the whole idea. And that's crazy. There needs to be a process. And what's going to happen? Eventually someone's going to offer to build something on top of that. It's going to raise the value. It's going to be a crisis. And the other property, we're going for a grant for Amy. Is working with Webster's to go for, no? Okay, but those two,
Maybe, but
okay,
Yeah.
but those two properties should have a conservation restriction on it, which makes it a little cheaper to acquire. Doing transfer development rights is something the planning board's wrestling with, and it's very slow, or just outright purchase would make sense and go for a grant for it. But anyway, there are parcels that are ready to be preserved and they're conservation worthy, and some of them are water quality, drinking water quality worthy. I don't think you want houses in closer on that Zone 2 land. Anyway.
So if we're, I guess getting back to it, if we're at 15, call that round number, where do we want to be?
I think the stretch, what was it? Not national law. I can't remember the stretch I saw recently. It was like 30%.
Right, and then that's usually.
And that would include things probably which I wouldn't necessarily include, like chapter 91, chapter 61 lands. Cause
Well,
I
that's
don't necessarily,
temporary.
I don't really consider those protected.
Yeah, they're only temporary.
We've lost some chapter 61 lands, so.
Yes, we.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the state targets 30% as its goal.
Yeah.
And that's reasonable.
so that could be a goal
Yeah.
over 7 years. I don't know if we get there, but, you know.
Yeah, it certainly should be a goal. And you look at adjacent communities, Westford has over that. Yeah.
But that, yeah, I mean, that, because this has been with the CPC thing, that there isn't a goal, there isn't a plan. So if you put a number on it and say we want, and I don't know what that, whatever we have now, essentially we want to double that.
Yeah, and there's parcels like Mary Shepherd, Oak Hill, which do not have the land use code of, I think it's 932, which is conservation, it's 930 vacant municipal. So I'm not sure it gets pulled in when Mass Audubon does their stuff,
Yeah.
which is what we're hoping to do with this
Right.
parcelization thing.
Yeah, that's been a really useful process.
Yeah, Acton's an interesting thing. They went through all the parcels that seemed appropriate for conservation and recreation. Usually there's some competition for that.
That's kind of what we're doing. Well,
And they went
it's
through-
what we own now.
Right, they went through it and each department rated that. So you can see if it could fall out, it made more sense for conservation or made more sense for recreation.
That's what we're in the process of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, a real simple plan that Acton used, yeah.
We're doing it.
So in terms of like a fixed number for like a percentage of open space,
Can somebody research that and find out what the state really has that listed as?
yeah, we can check
That's
it.
Yeah.
listed as what?
Percentage
Where that
of
50%
land
comes?
in town, is it actually?
I can't remember where it came
Have
from.
changed over, like, that's the piece of like, that's why it's worth looking
It's gone,
into.
it is definitely gone up.
Yeah,
But I can't remember where I read that, but it's probably
should
worth
fact
quoting
check
that as a
that,
source.
yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating trying to pull together the state stuff, but that's what Mass Audubon did. And those are the percentages. I mean, I'm not going town by town, it's frustrating, but Mass Audubon pulled it together. And as far as the printed versions out there, talking to the people at Mass Audubon that put it together, so well, go online. If they're gonna change something, it'll be changed online because it's easier to change it there.
I mean, DCR has been really good and they get back
EDA
pretty
protecting
quick.
30% of the Commonwealth in 2030
Got
and
it.
40% in 2050.
Okay.
So it's E EDA.
And you know, one of the questions that just came up is do you want to include, do we want to include chapter 61 land in that tally? It doesn't seem like that should be included, but is that included when the state talks about it?
No, the state talks about permanently protected. Chapter 61 is not permanently protected. It's sort of a temporary protection for, say, 10 years. And often things get developed or people change. It's really what's permanently protected.
I mean, I'm assuming that we are including all the 61 lands, at least in a separate table.
Yeah, maybe a
So it
separate
makes,
thing.
yeah.
And those are things you think of, maybe you want to acquire or with CR upon.
So, let's see here. So we'll look into that a little bit more and see if there's like an actual 30 or 40%.
I just sent it to
Yeah,
myself.
Excellent.
So efficient.
Excellent.
In games, I'm sending myself to do this.
Yeah,
I think what may be just as important as sort of clarifying the criteria is sort of, maybe we say, establishing shared criteria. So
Yeah.
part of what's really needed is to have everybody on the same page in terms of what's important. Like was discussed earlier, you lose some of these historic sites, historic landscapes, because nobody is really paying attention and they're not on the radar screen. And that's like that first action is sort of designed, as painful it is to have another joint committee, to really sit down with the historical commission and the historical society and have that discussion of, where do we have overlapping needs? Where do we have overlapping values? so that when you come to town meeting, it's not like everybody just defending or fighting for their own little bailiwick. But thinking about these landscapes are important for multiple reasons.
They say with the other departments, it should be coordinated between conservation, parks and rec, historic.
Exactly.
There are a lot of opportunities there. Everything is so fragmented. Sharing does make sense, such as the 58 acres that the water department acquired, 153 Taylor Street where Amazon is. That's a result of my having being at the planning board meeting for something else, talking to Larry Beals, who was very knowledgeable about stuff in the back room, and saying, why not just give this to the water department? They got 58 acres of aquifer by Beaver Brook that certainly the landowner that was building Amazon didn't want, and the water department wanted. That was free. And like
It's unbuildable, yeah.
Like what? Why wasn't the water department there or trying to figure that out? I mean, I think they paid a token $10 for it. And I mean, there are other opportunities like that, especially when CRs are done with land set aside at the planning board. Usually who gets it and where it is the last thing. It should be the first thing. So there needs to be a change in policy about how you do land set asides. Developers get bonus units and make a lot of money and stuff, but the public gets left out. They should get their fair share too. So one of the things is the policy, how conservation restrictions get made as part of a planning process. It should be one of the first things thought of from like who's going to hold it, because it's a major obligation, it's perpetual, it costs. Often you have to build bridges and everything because you get lousy leftover land. In some cases, we've rejected things because it didn't make sense. So it's some of the policy of what gets decided for the public at first, as opposed to just the commercial development. It has to be a little bit balanced.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the things I think I had brought up to Anna Houston, was like having the discussion of how do we talk about incorporating the idea of the recreation or conservation into like all of these host agreements that we have. Like that's something that should always be brought to the table.
Yes.
So I don't know how to change that. So
And a lot of times they're in there, but there's no teeth behind it.
right.
The one over Reed Meadow, I don't think is ever gonna actually happen.
Yeah.
It seems a mess.
Nobody actually wants it to begin with. And there's other ones that, the planning board open space was set aside, and I don't want it because it's like this thin little strip behind
Right,
everybody's house.
exactly.
Oh my God,
Can't do anything
what a
with it.
monitoring nightmare that is. So,
Right.
but establishing how you set up a CR, how you do the baseline documentation report, when it has to be submitted to the state, like before the first building permit or something.
And there should be an endowment that goes with it. In some cases, like the Cobb property, they gave a $75,000 endowment. A lot of these other things, the leftover lands, or you can't, even for conservation, very hard to use. And there's this major financial obligation to like a nonprofit. There's no income. It needs to be revised a bit.
Absolutely.
To bring this back to the action plans, there's part of the action, so under implementation, under this goal of conservation, we have pursue a variety of strategies to acquire conservation land as parcels become available. And then it talks about ways of doing that. So review and evaluate previous conservation strategies and levels of success, and then including purchase and fee, conservation restrictions, etc., and use that to establish a list of strategies to match current conditions, priorities, and available resources, and then it lists a few typical ways of doing that. Do you think that addresses some of the things you're raising, Don? Or
And I would also put in there consideration of almost mixed use, that if we mix Parks and Rec and conservation funds, or if we mix conservation and housing funds, you might be able to get a lot further in buying a piece of property and having some conservation and some for affordable housing, something like that.
so I'll add that to the list, like sort of
Because they're
consider
tiny PVC buckets.
ways of
Collaborating with other departments or something, I don't know.
Like, are we able to actually, like, could we put a playground on a piece of conservation? Is that something that's a possibility?
And how is what?
Yeah.
Durkee Farms is a perfect example of that. I think
Right.
if you wanted it, I think that'd be a great place. We got our trailhead.
Right. So those are the type of things like without we can figure out, yeah.
But
Dog park.
the hard part.
Ah, the dog
Dog
park.
park.
I know, it's on the list, my friends.
Pickleball.
You got lots of
Let's not-
conservation land, let's put a dog park on conservation land.
Whoa.
There you go. Come on.
How about that water department land?
Oh.
That was the original plan.
That was the original
That was the
plan.
original plan.
Yeah, I
Let's
even
get
did a
it done.
presentation to you guys.
Yep, that was the plan.
Let's do it.
It's
Where else would
done,
you want your
we
dog
can't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's done? We can't?
We can't, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind
But
of-
the, if I'm wrong, like if we're in a different section, just tell me, but like in the 1D. Where it says you just brought that up, Jack, about pursuing a variety of strategies. So should recreation be part of that, or is it just conservation?
This one has a little trouble, because a lot of this circles back on itself.
Right, yeah,
And yeah, Alicia, are you asking about specifically acquiring land for recreation?
yeah, I mean, because realistically, if we're looking at putting in athletic fields, we can't just magically have them float.
Yeah, so this would almost just be repeated under the recreation goal.
Okay,
Is that,
well, that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
or do we combine that all in one
Put it in multiple
together?
places.
Yeah.
Put it
you
in multiple places.
Put it in multiple
Yeah.
places,
Yeah.
okay,
or C,
That, yeah, that's,
C1D?
I
yeah,
think there's room to include recreation in this here, so it's not to acquire conservation and recreation land.
But is that where it belongs?
Right.
that's what I'm asking.
I think it does, because I think one of the big realizations I've had is that, Littleton has had a hard time preserving land. I mean, 15% is pretty low for Middlesex County.
But
And
goal
so-
one doesn't mention recreation.
Does it?
That's goal, was it?
Oh,
Two or
it
three or
did.
something?
No.
It's a good point, Amy, although goal 1 is focused on land acquisition and the goal 2, which is focused on recreation, focuses more on facilities and programs. So I think part of the spirit of this goal is to find multi-use parcels that meet multiple goals at once to achieve conservation
It's
goals.
chicken and the egg. We can't do one without the other.
Right,
Yeah,
I guess if we're saying that goal 1 is talking about acquiring land, it should say that, because that's not the way I read it.
Right.
Well, it's about
It's about conservation and.
conservation, whether you acquire it or not. I mean, that can be.
No, I know, I just think if we're talking about including the recreation land pieces, I think the goal needs to change to match that.
Yeah, I mean, usually conservation is passive use, whereas recreation's usually
Well, I mean, there
active
is,
use and structure. And grants sort of distinguish those two.
But in CPC, it's not.
it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could have a portion of land be active, the rest be passive. You're not saying the
Yeah.
whole, right?
But that's what I'm saying, that's the collaboration.
That's
Mixed
why
use.
it's-
Yeah,
Mixed
it's
use.
all figured out.
Yeah.
Situation.
A little affordable housing
But
over
it's-
here, and there you go.
Yeah,
Ah.
there you go.
I mean, that's planning,
That's what you
right?
want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the way it is now,
Multiple uses allows you to cast a wider net to get approvals.
Yes.
And get
Yeah.
things through.
Yeah,
And frankly, I think the state likes seeing that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it all depends. I mean, conservation's often connectivity, wildlife and people, and that doesn't necessarily work with active recreation.
Unless we're shooting the wildlife. No.
Oh, wow.
And we want a hunting in here.
I mean, there's some places, active recreation should be the only goal. It's like at Devon's,
Yeah,
when we're replanting the use there, we had this huge athletic field.
yep,
I mean, not athletic field, a huge
yep,
parade ground. And we looked at that, okay, this is the perfect thing for recreation.
Absolutely.
Not conservation, but recreation.
Right.
And that was a good repurposing of it.
Yep.
And it's used regionally,
Yep.
which is a win-win all around. But some other stuff like by the Nashua River, the business people want to be in, they said, no, that should be for conservation and riverside stuff.
What I would challenge you to though is our town, the way our makeup is, we don't have the
Right.
ability to have, oh yeah, we're gonna have all our recreation in this one spot. We'd love it. Believe me, we would love it.
Yeah,
We've gotta, unfortunately,
piece it together.
it's piece it together. And again, I still like the story of multiple uses and being able to,
I mean, it's not always gonna work.
it's not always gonna work.
Yeah,
but-
as I was saying, sometimes it's just recreation, sometimes it's just
Yeah.
conservation. It really depends upon the situation.
Right,
And the
Yeah.
granting, I mean, look at
yeah,
where the grants come from the state. Sometimes they're very specific for conservation. They don't allow active recreation. The
Yeah.
other things are more of active recreation only.
yeah, yeah.
Well, if we do that, should the word recreation be in goal 1? If we're gonna,
And that's sort of mingled
Sure.
everything.
That's
Or
kind of the
not,
point. It's like
that's
either-
a- yeah.
if we're covering all land acquisition in goal 1,
That should be
then
part of it.
it
Yeah.
should be part of the goal. And maybe, look, maybe we rework the goal when we get to the end and, but.
Yeah. No, I
think
agree.
it's-
I
it's-
agree. Cast a bigger net.
I read this goal as being more, not so much, to me, it didn't read as land acquisition, it read as talking about the water quality, the agricultural heritage, the other things, conservation related,
Right.
not necessarily acquisition of land. So if,
but the action items.
but the action
Focused
items,
on.
right, so
Yeah.
if that's what we're focusing on, then let's just make sure it all rolls back together.
I like 2C1, that's when I can actually say, yes, that will happen. Oh, it's a whole list, that's one, you say, oh, got it.
Well, it's a separate thing, like protect and acquire importance of natural.
Yeah,
We have the inventories.
Yeah, I went to this because this would be the place to talk about acquiring land for recreational use. This is the one that uses create additional recreational facilities, parks, and athletic fields. So, is it better to put a explicit action item here about finding land, acquire land for recreational purpose, or to bring that back into the first goal?
I mean, part of me kind of feels like, especially with everything that we've been doing with the sewer system, we're using those athletic fields as a filtration system. So that is a potential that could help, our goal number 1 with trying to work on quality of water. So I don't know, that would be my argument for it, that it is part of that.
Right.
And we don't know what the future, let's just fast forward
Yeah.
potentially,
Yeah,
and you get another discharge site,
right.
guess what?
More fields.
I feel like that's the
Right.
only way we're gonna get fields. I
Right,
think.
though, right? I mean, that's,
well, who has the money?
I've had that thought. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
so that should be
Perfect.
something multi-use,
The
here we
perfect thing
go.
to put on top of the discharge
Yep.
site.
Yep,
Yeah,
Well, we could. Yeah, it sounds like maybe something that isn't quite highlighted enough here is to seek opportunities to meet multiple open space and recreation goals on single properties or within single parcels or areas.
Yeah, I would look at sort of adding or tweaking the objectives under goal number 1 to include the idea of why you're planning for recreation. Think about the place that recreation has in preserving and protecting open space generally. But I think we want to keep the big idea, which is like goal 1 is basically the question is, what do we need to protect? What do we want to prevent development on? And then goal number 2 is basically what kind of things do we want to create in terms of recreational opportunities? So it's really focusing more on active recreation. I know there's a gray area in the middle there, but just in terms of the way the plan is structured, I'd really recommend keeping goal number 1 really focused on what do we want to protect, what's important to conserve, how much is enough. And then, recreation can play a part in that, but it's not the point of that initial goal.
Yeah, I think it's worth calling out maybe here, like actively seeking areas that may have potential for multiple open space and recreation goals. Like, so in meeting those conservation and protection goals, also looking for areas that might meet recreation goals as well as a strategy for funding and for public support.
Yeah.
It really depends upon the situation. I think of like White Street where the attorney gave the land by mistake to the Conservation Commission. And the Conservation Commission, of course, wanted to protect the wetlands, but give the rest of the land to the school to add to the track. And that was the case with multi-purposes. But there were people on the planning board who didn't like it and were attacking the Conservation Commission for protecting the wetlands, which really had to be protected. It wasn't anyone's fault on any board that the attorney gave it to the wrong body. It had to go through the state legislature. But that was a case where multiple purposes could be met. So wetlands to Comm and the athletic area to the school, the Russell Street School, that area. But
that's
is
you're
always
talking about
possible.
that triangle area that has not even been touched or used by anyone. It's like completely unusable.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
Concom didn't try to keep it. It was argument to use it for the school athletic. I mean, in some cases you can meet multiple purposes. A certain parcel is split up, but not always. It really depends on the situation.
So I gotta run in about 20 minutes. I don't know how much more. I know.
Yeah, to run.
I know. Well, I had a second meeting last night after that.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4.
We'll still have a quorum, but
Okay.
Well, let's walk through the structure. So as you're looking at
Oh,
it
yeah.
over the next few days, we sort of understand again why it's organized the way it is. So again, as Jack said, there's a sort of a section of there's implementation objectives, the planning implementation, and then what's the third one?
The third one is
Coordination and funding under each goal, and then appropriate, we hope, actions for each one.
Yeah, this seems like a good way to break them up.
Yeah, we just want to be transparent that the objectives are not organized by priority. They're organized by these 3 stages of how to get things done: plan, implement, find funding and resources and coordination. And then within those, you can prioritize the actions.
Yeah, I got a little bit late, but on here, there's different color coding. Like over the red is always on, not the left, but then it's embedded in here. And then there's a purple when you're coming down to the actions, but there's some red in there. So is this based upon like a previous plan?
Yeah, track changes. So
it's track changes.
Yeah, so like I think the red was added.
That's me.
But
Can you just show it without track changes on, Jack?
But right now, actually, right now it's without track changes, but I think if you printed it out, it probably printed it out with track changes.
Yeah, sorry.
And I think that's fine. I know it makes it hard to read, but to answer your question, Jerry, the track changes on there are from the original goals and objectives that we shared with you. So what we originally shared last meeting, when in the process of going through actions, we revised them to better meet what the actions are saying. But then the second column that you pointed out is mostly purple with some red, and the ones that are red in that column are highlights of what input we got from the committee. So I think it's actually mostly Alicia, Amy, and the bike ped, the BPAC input. Those are highlighted red just to make it easier to see how those revisions were incorporated.
Okay, so for 1B3, Jeff mentioned there's a list of locations in Littleton there. Did this come from the previous OSRP plan, or was this generated new for us? Because those two areas are in there, I would think it came from the previous plan.
Those were, yeah, exactly. Those were highlighted in the master plan and originally from the 2006 reconnaissance report. So yeah, what were the two that you said? I got one of them.
Longshore and Parley.
Okay.
So what's in the actions column, if it's not red, it's what came from the master plan and the previous OSRP meeting or plan. That's the source of this information in here.
Well, plus other stuff that we put in, Jack, right?
Yeah, right. So we started with the last OSRP's actions. We tried to pull out what was relevant from that still, and then what we learned from interviews with Alicia, Amy, and some water department folks, and then what came up in the master plan and what came up in the bike ped plan, and then some of our own ideas. Those what went into these new actions.
Okay, and then the red part is changes to that as of when? As of like a couple of weeks ago is when the red changes came in?
Under the actions column?
Either one. They get red under both columns, under objectives and actions.
Under the objectives, if it's red, it means track changes that are changes to the original objectives we shared with the committee 2 weeks ago. So yeah, that's the track changes. Probably should have used a different color than red didn't know it would be red for both. But the red under the actions column are highlight input we got from the committee on actions, and most of that's in the last couple of days.
Got it.
Yeah, if you really want to have your mind boggled, Jack has a larger spreadsheet that lists all of the actions of last plan, current plan, and I think some future plans. It's all together.
Clean copy.
But I think what we're aiming at is a clean copy that people can react to and then not get too confused.
I appreciate the color coding question, Jared, because don't want to. Yeah, I'm glad you raised it. I think actually what would be useful is to hear from you what you think you really want to make sure is in this, and make sure, and then see if we've covered it. And Andrew, since you're leaving soon, maybe, or anyone else, if you have to leave, make sure you get that. Maybe you can start with that, and then we'll just go through anything that has come to mind for you, and then we'll see if it's in here. We can go and see if we can find it. Doesn't have to just be Andrew. Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Everyone's reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the lowest level thing we're getting into is the actions, right? That's the implementation of the plan, sort of.
Yeah.
That's where you put the top 5 projects for BPAC are under actions. So that's the lowest level we go, the most detailed, right?
That's right.
That's right. And as I've said before, and the way we're trying to write them is that they're specific enough that somebody can actually do them.
Okay.
Like, I'm gonna organize a meeting and do this because it's an important step to meet this objective, or we're gonna find a grant and do this project, or maybe we're gonna have a meeting and talk about what projects we need to do. But it's more than just a general statement of this is what we want to work on, but saying specifically, here's what we're going to do for the next year, 2 years, 5 years. And and not have another step of saying, well, how do we actually do that? It's not, it's specific enough that it can actually be assigned to somebody.
In 2C3, can we spell those out?
What the phases are.
Yeah. Because if somebody has to go find another document, not happen.
That's how it works. It's like a fun find and search game.
Nope, not happening.
Made those numbers up, didn't you?
No, I don't think that was me. That wasn't me.
It's a choose your own adventure novel, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
I was like, what is phase
phases.
2 for?
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's exactly, I was going to look for, right, so.
So I actually have written those out, Saul, and I can plop them in here. That's if that's
yeah,
the consensus.
thank you.
One of the things that you could add in here on the same one that 2C is that we do have that parcel at Cooper Farm. So like we were trying to develop that into a park, but that hasn't really gone anywhere yet. So that's something that we could add on to that would be hopefully completed in the next 7 years.
Very specific too, which is kind of nice to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So add on another action.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's there or somewhere else, but do we want to add in the dog park?
Yeah,
I mean,
that is not in
the
here.
dog park.
Well, that's I mean,
I know.
yes, they could be the same thing, but
Right.
What would be the action here?
So one of them, yeah, right.
Yeah.
One of them is to develop the active recreation parcel at Cooper Farm. The development.
And how do you spell Cooper?
you.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the second is like we've had overwhelming requests for a dog park. So that's a specific facility that we know is wanted by the community. We're good at work for people.
Is there already a short list of potential sites for that, or is that part of the process? Is
Certainly
like
not, my friends.
yeah. that's like a whole nother objective, maybe, or
Yeah. That's that magical land that we don't have.
One of many.
One of many.
I worry about regional stuff there. Yeah, I was on the reuse of Devon's area. Usually when Fort goes to civilian purposes, there are a lot of things that get put in there. Dog parks is one of the typical things. Maybe that isn't that far away. That could have a regional purpose. And yeah, even things people talk about the ice skate rink or something. Yeah, if there isn't sufficient capability around here, that it may be possible having a state skate rink or dog park at Evans. I mean,
But-
certainly the soccer stuff serves a lot of people, and that's at Evans, and there is land there.
So that's a very commonsensical way to look at it. But the requests are not commonsensical.
No,
I want this in my community. I want to be able to
5-minute drive.
5-minute drive to be able to go there. And I mean, I have neighbors that live and they go to some of these other ones that are further away and still it's like, can't you make that happen? So, that, I hear you on that,
Well,
especially like an ice rink. That's something.
Yeah. It's much like
That has to be
the consultant
regional.
at MAPC came to the
Yeah.
planning board.
Yeah.
And someone said something, so like, well, everyone wants a pony. Maybe that isn't really on the cards.
Commonsensical,
Uh,
commonsensical, my friends, you know,
Commonsensical, nonsensical.
people want what they want.
Yeah, but they can't always get what they want.
But this is one of those, you ask for it and maybe you can, yeah.
So one thing that's just jumping out at me upon another cursory glance of this, totally jumping way down towards the end. Under 4D4, it says partner with the Littleton Community Farm to implement workshops and programs on local food and agriculture. I would just want to include other farms in that as well. So
Yeah.
just partner with the Littleton Community Farm and the local farms to implement workshops and programs.
I mean, do you have to call them out specifically? Is there a reason for that, or could we just say,
I think if we said
Littleton
partner with local farms,
yeah,
that would.
So one of the things, for the AgCom point of view, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is get out, do a thing on Littleton TV about all the farms in town.
Mhm.
To just expose what they do and where they are and whatnot. So that's, implement workshops and programs. So that's a way of getting the information. That's not really a workshop and a program, but
It's a program.
Well,
yeah, it's a program that would
We'll work
let
with
people
you.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's getting back to my point. I think, you know, if you look at the Littleton Town website, there's all these advisory committees to the selectmen.
Right.
Agricultural Advisory Committee and, Sustainability Committee. I think they have to get their top 5 priorities in here, because when you look over on the right, it says who and when.
right,
These things, and the who and when is not us just sitting at the table here, it's
Right.
all these committees that have been formed. And they're not gonna be really bought into this, I think, it's just gonna be another plan.
Right.
Unless they get their dibs in here, and I think it's really important that we go back to those folks and get their top 5 and put them in here. And then put the committee down as a.
I'll just tell their name is gonna be in this.
Right.
If you wanna participate, come next week.
Yeah, no, but get what they want in here so that they'll feel part of it and actually get some of it done over the next few years. So, I have the action to get the Agricultural Advisory Committee to come up with their top 5, and that's gonna be one of them, is do this
yeah,
expose on Littleton TV of all the farms.
Okay.
But I really think that organizations we represent here and the other ones that aren't represented here, we have to go back to them, reach out and get their top 5 items and put them in here. Because they're the ones who are actually gonna work on it and do it,
we hope.
right? But just bring it up, because that one, about the, Littleton, community farm, that would be better to spread across, not to be specific to the community farm.
Farms.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a few items in here that are, we call out the agricultural, forget the name of the commission.
Agricultural Commission.
Agricultural Commission. So Jerry, are you on that or
Yes,
okay.
it's the Agricultural Advisory Committee, so we have no power, we just go to the select board and,
Well, Jerry,
advise them of what decisions they should make.
so I think there was an advisory committee at some point, but it is just AgCom for the.
Oh, is it? Is that what I meant?
Yeah.
I'm
I
also
thought it
there
was
with
advisory.
Jerry.
It is what you make it.
They're also talking about getting rid of a bunch of those at town meetings, so,
What?
well, the
All
dead
the
committees.
Oh, the dead committees.
So it might be good to review which ones
I was gonna say, I don't know if you.
are
That's many.
referred to as, dead committees.
So with that, I do have to run in like 30 seconds.
With that.
Do we want to set our next meeting?
Are you a dead committee?
I could be a dead committee. Do we just want to jump to set our next committee meeting super quick before I hit the road, and then we can finish? I'm sorry to interrupt, Jack and
No,
Peter.
that's good.
I mean, do we want to meet sooner because we're getting closer to our deadline? I don't know if the once a month is gonna cut it. I mean, so we have our public workshop on the 21st. And then the next typical time that we would have met would be September 26th, which is Tuesday, last Tuesday of the month.
What was it?
So it'd be September 26th. It's the last Tuesday of the month. Those typically seem to work for everyone in this crew.
Find someplace new to meet.
Yeah, I'll find somewhere new.
Oh,
This is, I think, where we had our first couple. Yeah, does
so we're thinking September 26th.
that work for you?
Certainly. Do we want to
Captain,
do?
oh my captain?
Yes. Does 5:30 still work for everybody?
I won't be able to make it
No, okay.
unless I do it remotely. I just got a meeting pop up that day.
I can provide you something.
Or if I can get out of work remotely. But yeah, that might be crazy.
Oh, really?
It's a crazy week for me.
Is it? Do you want to do the next
No,
week?
no, I mean, you guys, I got TA search committee, I got light and water.
Uh,
Do you want to do a different day? Like,
No, no, the whole week,
25th
the whole
of
week sucks,
the
but you gotta meet, so go ahead, throw it on there, I'm trying.
I'm just gonna look and see what else is on that.
oh, yeah, I gotta be
What else
there
is
for light
already
and water.
Scheduled.
That's on Wednesday, right?
No, that's on Tuesday.
Is it on
That's what I
Tuesday? We had
have.
it on Wednesday. Did we move it to Tuesday?
I got Tuesday. So if you guys
26th,
did
yeah.
move it, let me know.
We're not
Otherwise,
moving it. No.
I'm
if
gonna
it-
sit there
if
and be
it's-
like,
Yeah,
so we'll do.
but you guys start at 7, right? Is that right? 7?
we start at 6.
No. Okay, so that's not great. Yeah.
So we'll shoot for,
No, but I don't
September.
think we decided anything.
Oh, we haven't.
No, light water is that now,
Oh.
so, and
And I,
Elise
yeah,
has to go because he has a
Oh, that's right. Okay.
request, so.
Let's see.
mm,
Is the following Tuesday a Concom meeting?
The third is,
The third?
and I'll be out those next 2 weeks.
Oh, that's right.
All right, Thursdays,
Oh,
yeah, good.
Peter, you're muted.
Do you mean time the week of October 16th? Like Thursday, the 19th of October?
I think we,
that's late. 'Cause
Yeah.
we gotta turn this in like October 31st.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about October 26th.
no,
No.
No.
No, no,
September 26th.
September,
Right.
September.
So he was panicking.
Yeah. No.
Is the 25th, September 20th, the Monday out?
I get TA search,
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
is that every night? Or, oh, no, just.
Yeah, that's, it could be, I don't know. Yeah.
I have open, but I'm not part of the crew.
Good night, think I'm open.
Go ahead, do that, do Monday the 25th. You gotta
Oh,
meet that
Monday the
week.
25th.
Yeah.
I just have, I'm in school, so I have class that night.
Let's see. And Wednesday the 27th is it the water department?
No, well, that's the 26th.
I got nothing on Wednesday, 27th.
I got class again. What's these?
Good Lord, man.
Grad school.
Okay.
Friday, Thursday.
The 28th. Oh, there are major meetings that night.
I will be in Boston for the advocacy day.
Oh,
I mean, I'll probably be back. I'll be back that evening, so I could do that, but
what's your lunch on your
Is that a
day?
planning board night? Without
is that what?
planning board?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be a little tricky for me too. Ooh.
Oh, kids, this gets so hard.
Monday, October 2nd. Oh, but Amy won't be here for that.
Fine.
Would that work for other people? Monday, October 2nd? Oh, because Monday and Wednesdays.
Yeah,
With that class last night.
What about a week earlier? Or is that next week or?
yeah.
You're like, that's right after the public meeting.
Right, yeah, right.
Friday after, right, it's stays till midnight.
Hmm. The 27th was a no-go on Wednesday.
That's okay, I think. I had class, he's got class, but.
Jerry,
Good,
27th.
yes.
Ivan,
Should-
questionable.
Yeah, but if you need it, it's a quorum.
Andrew,
It works for me.
Saul, Kate. All right, let's do it. You got a quorum.
Perfect quorum.
I'm trying to pop
Pick your class.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no. We're not encouraging that.
Yeah.
We are not encouraging that for the record. All right, so we'll do September 27th at 5:30. That sounds like a plan. All right.
Excellent.
Well, you all have a lovely evening. I'm gonna take my leave.
That's when the
Oh, yeah,
LTT
so
map
it's
is
gonna
getting
be
us.
It's kind of like this, we have three other places and then.
Well, good night, everybody. Thank you again. Jack and Peter, have a
Thanks.
lovely evening.
You too, Andrew. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I always look that way. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Ian.
Good night.
There are some groups that aren't represented.
Okay.
Clean Lakes, I got 2 places. I can get them.
All right, you guys wanna take back over?
Sure. I think
They come now.
where we the theme we were talking about for the Agricultural Commission, I'd like to pick up on that. And I guess Mark has left, but he raised the question of whether this action plan adequately provides some actions to help keep farming going in Littleton.
Get our funding for the water.
One of the places where it comes up is looking at how to coordinate staff time and funding among town boards and committees. So this is taken from the master plan, or adapted from the master plan, to review and enhance the Agricultural Commission's roles and responsibilities and encourage the commission to play a more formal role of liaison between the town and the farming community.
So Jerry, can you take that as homework to find action items from AgCom that they feel like would be able to, how could we better support the farms in town? What could we do? What could we put in as action items that will actually help?
Well, yeah, so that goes along with the top 5 priorities.
Right.
We're gonna get the top 5 priorities from AgCom
Okay.
that meets twice a year.
Meet more.
It's gonna be a little harder to do, but I will do it.
Okay.
We'll pull it together next week.
Yeah, I think we've done some of the planning board. We have, certainly there's always the right to farm bylaw, but also accessory developments. We had accessory to accessory. I mean, that's since the last open space plan. I mean, we've tried to do some things there on the planning board.
Yep.
But I don't know if there are other things, but that's a bylaw change.
Yeah.
And Jack, I noticed you got that one we were talking about, 4D6, where they say create and promote a Littleton Loves Its Farms marketing and educational campaign to highlight the towns. That's sort of that film we were looking on putting it together for the marketing of the town farms. Because that when it comes down to it, that's what the town farms really want, is people to shop at their stores. Now, there's a dairy farm in town that doesn't sell direct, but they do sell products through other farms in town. So when it comes down to it, they don't want handouts as much as they want to be viable commercial businesses.
Yeah.
Is this wording still relevant, Jerry, or does this initiative exist at this point?
Yes, it does.
So we don't need to create it, but you need to promote it. And
No, it's not. You haven't done it yet, right?
Right, so we do have to create it.
okay.
Good planning. Just wait for me to retire.
Yeah, they're going back to that one in goal 1.
It seems like it's F5, right?
Yeah.
Needs more meat.
That definitely needs more to be broken down. Yeah, and then there's F1, 1F4 is about updating management plans and lease fee rates. So if the town owns, is leasing out some town-owned properties. So does this feel relevant?
Is there a standing agricultural property working group, or was that just the group for the orchard?
There was the orchard working group. I'm not sure if that, what's called there, became the Ag Commission, or
I think
that language is out of the 2016 plan.
Separate thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for anything from me, I apparently don't even know the name of the committee I'm on. So I'm not a good person to ask about.
Or what you do is just take out that first one and the action plan could be to update the management plan, and then in the next column is the what and who. Or whatever those columns are.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna work with the agricultural property working group? Are they gonna do it themselves? If they exist?
If it's helpful, I can try to pull out anything related to agriculture and email it to you. Or you can just talk, you can just get their top 5 actions.
So, yeah, I'll get their top 5 actions, but also we have a soft copy of this. It's not a PDF that we can search on it too, for instance. Just
Email it.
Yeah,
it's emailed to
okay.
you.
What is it in? Word?
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
It's in Word, actually.
Word, okay.
Oh, yes, Word.
Yeah.
That's good.
I was like, wow, really?
Well, yeah, what else would you like to make sure, anyone else make sure is in here?
Look at 3A1. This is our goal. And it's annual meetings with light and water conservation, Clean Lakes. We already do that with Clean Lakes.
Okay. So does that feel irrelevant?
Are we there? Is conservation there? I mean, somebody else in conservation there.
I mean, we interface with you guys. I mean, we don't have set meetings, I don't think, with you guys, but Clean Lakes comes in. We've set up to come in several times a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So it's not like an annual meeting, like you're meeting more than.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But there are other things too, such as the rain gardens. Yeah, I gather the current one needs to be maintained. There's going to be another one put in of Aspen Road. And apparently that's possible since, the time lapse has happened for Silverberg that the town can now continue. And I remember, we tried to clean up Mill Pond.
Right.
That was,
Army Corps of Engineers.
and it was the
yeah,
conservation
Oh, yeah,
trust
that-
that
yeah.
showed up
right.
because they owned all the lands that were bordered, and we were going to allow that to be taken as part of the process.
Mhm.
But all that ended. So I mean, that should be continued. It was
I
mentioned.
think well, that's the
It's
regulatory
specific,
agency
and,
that killed it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Army Corps was supposed to come in.
Right, but the
Yeah.
contract is stopped,
Yeah,
so it needs to be renewed and,
But my understanding was Army Corps regulatory. Put an end to it, not Army Corps. Doing the work.
yeah.
Either they or
Right.
DEP, someone said,
somebody,
yeah, you
somebody
know,
snuffed it and said,
you're not
yeah,
getting a permit for this.
right, yeah. I mean,
Or for filling the marsh, you can dredge it, but you gotta take someplace else.
Well, to replenish that, whoever does it, I mean, if you want access to great ponds and recreation, Mill Pond is a huge one. And there's access points to it. It needs to be cleaned up. And I know the Conservation Trust owns a lot of parcels, willing to donate that if that would accomplish the purpose. I mean, whatever it takes, it would be good to pursue that.
yeah, that's all good. This is stating that we're going to set up meetings with Clean Lakes. We already do.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So-
You're gonna hold them.
Yeah, it's like,
I think
Okay,
if that
but
action
it's-
item,
I mean, that's,
Okay,
it seems like an ongoing, if you're calling for an annual meeting, it means it's an ongoing activity to me. That was
Yeah.
what
okay.
right? Maybe you don't need, yeah, 'cause it's a continue.
Is there anything that would be a way to enhance that process or include the Conservation Commission more or something to put
We
in?
interface with conservation.
do you guys work on developing like a strategic plan?
yeah, because we just talked about the
Prioritizing.
budget, I think, with you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
I
mean-
mean, yeah, not so much the planning part, but. we
but
just-
that's, yeah, you
we're
guys,
asking for money.
you guys are going to come up with your plan
sure.
and then approach us.
Yeah.
And work with us on, implementation of that plan.
Yeah.
and now that you acquired Parley lumber, there's a stream, I remember that gets blocked up and floods out septic systems upstream, so yeah. Some action plan there should be good, because that does get backed up. In fact, I remember dragging Savis in to clean it up. Not that I had any trouble, but I was getting calls from everyone, so. But now you own it. you know.
Now we own
It's a
it.
new headache.
Yeah, not a problem.
Would there be anything good to put in here, specific action to add here, or?
Well,
I'm hearing you talk about creating some plans for, some action plans for specific ponds.
Well,
Can we be specific with Mill Pond? Or do you
Think
want to
so,
leave it
yeah.
open?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
need something there.
Yeah,
I think the more specific, smart goals, right?
Yeah.
Specific, measurable, actionable.
Yeah, you don't have to know the solution, but yeah, I mean, there's some unknowns here, but there's certainly a need.
yeah.
so where does that fit
Thank you so
in
much.
terms of,
It could fit right here. This is like sort of,
Why
Planning.
didn't we just mill? Doleful Pond's a mess.
Which built which ones?
Doleful, which is Newtown Hill,
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I don't really see.
yeah, no.
I mean,
Oh, is that at the?
they all need, obviously, something.
Make growth ponds nice. Make growth ponds nice.
But I go back to this,
I don't know, I think Mill Pond's the big one.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd rather just focus on that.
yeah, it
Remember,
affects so
this
many
is 7
people.
years. So could you do more in 7 years potentially than just that one? Right?
but does,
Take
but
70 years.
I know, if you're trying to work on the stage,
doesn't this planning come under goal 1?
well, if it's about, is it about,
About water.
is it about stewardship of the pond, of sort of remediation? Or is it about protecting land around the pond?
Oh, everything.
Well,
It's a major.
primarily the water, I think, is what we're talking about right now.
The stewardship of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not so much.
the protection would be, I don't know, the watershed or something, it's sort of.
Right, but yes, I think the strategy goes in one, but if we already know that Mill and maybe Doleful are, to be addressed, then calling them out specifically is probably worthwhile. And I don't know what are we trying to, what's the,
So you guys gonna take on Mill Pond again?
What about draining Mill Pond? Turn it into a park?
Yeah, we'll have to ask to get the money.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't get.
Drainage, right, there you
You're
go.
knocking your head against the
Dog
wall
park, big
because
dog
it's a
park.
wetland, can't you just drain it?
Drain it and fill it.
It's an artificial
Nope.
dam. It's not, so it's
Well,
not
that's
naturally wet.
That's what we've talked about too, is removing the dam.
Yeah, remove the dam and then
Let
it's
it
all,
go.
and then you can turn it into a park. Well, it's already conservation trust owned.
Well, you're not gonna turn.
And I guess the state's actually been leaning towards dam removals.
Yeah, there's a question.
Go back to
towards the
the
center of that.
original.
But it's a base flow issue too.
Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, but Bob Levett, who is an attorney, environmental attorney and board of assessors, also conservation trust, tried to resolve it. And it was a question whether something is dammed up or not, and towards the center, and that determined who owned the land under the water to the center. The one time it was proposed from the selectmen to turn all that over to the conservation trust because people did not trust the town. Then there's a question whether people had illegal sanitary system going into the pond.
Find that out.
So people are really reluctant to drain it. It's a complicated situation. It may sound easy, but it's not easy.
Yeah, he's right, now that's a smell for at least a year.
well,
Now,
okay, so what is the goal with Mill Pond? Is it,
Clean it up, I think.
right, but I think we need more than,
Full range of options.
no, but more,
Make it usable.
more specific than clean, like, is it?
Make it a recreation area. Make it a
Yeah.
usable recreation.
Okay.
smell.
What does that mean? Like,
Eliminate excess plant life? Pull up the bottom, like I don't know enough.
the plan was to dredge it,
Return to a functional ecosystem.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that could mean water, that could be wetlands, but at least you're
Right.
doing something.
Yeah, and it should allow recreation too. Don't think necessarily swimming, but boating, you know, be possible.
Alright.
But
Well-
something should be done, you know.
Would it be worth,
How we say that, that something should be done with Mill Pond, because that's what you're saying, it's priority, so.
I love Amy's, just
Yeah.
returning it to its natural ecosystem.
Well, not to.
Well, that would be.
Functioning,
Yeah,
functioning, okay. Yeah.
And that had been the intent, we're working with Army Corps, you know.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but that could
So
be what everybody
somewhere
work
in-
on.
Nobody else does, that's a good thing.
It won't be
It's nice
a hot
and
mess.
broad.
Yeah,
Put it that
okay.
way.
Yeah, it won't be a hot mess.
Yeah.
Functional ecosystem,
Sometimes.
I like that.
Well, I mean, that goes along, well, we are under we're not under number one,
no,
but protecting
We're steward-
water
we're
as well,
stewardship.
it still goes under that as well, so it's
It
like.
could
a
be either
dual-
place.
Yeah,
restore recreation to it.
was there before?
Yeah, there must have been, yeah, I've heard of people swimming in
Really?
Mill Pond, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, swimming, and fishing, can't really fish now.
I wouldn't, well, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't talk about restoring its ecosystem, because that might not be the solution. You might be putting it into a different kind of ecosystem.
Turning it into a nice stream.
But
develop
Okay,
a functioning.
Developing a functioning ecosystem
recreation, yeah,
/ recreational area. Put them both in there, why not?
not sure what the verb is here, but functional ecosystem and recreation area.
yeah, that's why, it's a good,
Developing or creating or, yeah.
Good for now.
I saw there was a reference to a request in 2016 to town meeting to fund a study.
Oh, yeah, this has been going on for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So was that denied by town meeting? Or-
No, a lot of money was spent.
Yeah,
But
And
there
it was-
should be some grant.
The
So there is a
problem is, if you
complete
dredge it,
report?
you have to do something with the dredge spoil, and that's incredibly expensive.
Hmm.
And the solution at that point was to fill all the phragmites up at the top and create a functioning ecosystem.
Hmm.
But the regulatory agencies don't like the idea of filling a wetland to create a wetland,
Right.
even if it's a hot mess. Doesn't mean they won't change their mind though.
That's interesting.
They did it in one of the M towns. Milford, Medway, I can't remember where it was.
Yeah.
So how are they able to do it?
they would have to
They
haul it
got
out.
away with it before and I don't know if, I thought it was a success. I don't know if they had a bad experience with it.
Interesting.
But-
It'd be interesting to check back and see.
Yeah, the stock maybe checking us on the Army Corps to what they could find out.
Well, he talked about, what was it, there's a company right up the street, Cardillo,
Yeah,
The landscaping company.
they may take some of it.
Yeah, they were willing to take it.
For
In
Phil.
fact, New England Forestry Foundation had some land that wasn't for us and wanted to give the Conservation Trust.
Yep.
Then that was gonna be part of the solution. That would be given to landscaping company in exchange from taking some of the sludge.
but that's not gonna
So Neff held onto the land. Everyone's waiting for something to happen. There are a lot of willing partners, especially giving land to make it a functional ecosystem. And having recreation makes sense. I mean, people used to go hunting there. In fact, our land, I've eventually denied people going out hunting on the marsh just because it's so close to houses. I mean, legally they could, but I think it would be a nuisance to people. So a lot of willing people to help out. Yeah, including that landscaping company.
Well, a lot of what Cordillo wanted is they wanted to fill the wetlands so they could expand their property. That wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings, but it was part of the solution, yeah.
I think as long as we've put something in here that will help get this going, then that's enough. And then whoever's in charge of that will take it from there.
yeah, just take out the word annual meetings, just meetings, convene meetings.
Yeah, that sounds good. periodic.
Yeah, we don't, because we meet multiple times, so that's good.
Should I put regular or just,
Just, it could be meetings because, yeah, as things come up, it's fluid
okay.
as in
Yeah,
water.
one of the things that ends on here is like kind of for the coming year. I suppose if it's not annual, then get rid of that too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, well.
I mean, we're coming into that time of year when commissions are setting their priorities for next year. God help us. Absolutely.
I mean, should we have somewhere in there a long-term strategic plan?
I said it before, and you were like, move on.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hearing from everybody is that if there's not a long-term strategic plan, nobody's gonna fund anything.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
Oh, no.
I can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch it.
Do we want to put something in here about that? A long-term strategic plan for protecting surface waters, aquifers, and the watersheds?
Yeah, sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have faith in you. You can do it.
I mean, especially if we get funding for that. you could
We're
put
gonna
it in.
consultants.
or if you don't, don't.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Well, yeah.
You can have money for that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It only takes staff.
Guess it's also money.
You need to leave. Alarm bell.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
2, 3. Can we do it with 3? Or do we have to? No.
I think
Okay.
quorum is
Yeah.
4.
7:30, it's 2 hours.
Okay. So if you have to leave in 10 minutes, then we have to figure out what we can do in the next 10 minutes. So if there's super important stuff for Jack and Peter.
Yeah, I think what would be really good just to make sure we have consensus that the overall structure of these 4 goals works for the committee. And so it's been good to surface some of the questions that have come up, like where does recreation land? Where does that fit in? And here we're talking about protection of water, but we're talking about it more along lines of stewardship and like remediation rather than land conservation. So that's why we've been putting it in this goal 3. I think that just making sure that this structure makes sense to people, or if there's some tweaking we should do, that would be very helpful to do now.
I mean, with number 2, with the recreational goals, one of the components that came out in the conversations that we've been having in the survey was development of the youth. And that's not really in that goal 2. I don't know if it should be just sussed out a little bit more or, yeah, don't know.
Okay.
Developing of youth programs, you mean, or?
I mean, I think in general, like, it kind of talks about community health, but, we're seeing, especially from COVID, a lot of effect in social interactions, in behavioral, in mental health. Like, there's a lot of effects that have happened, and having, the programs that we have, there's the benefits to them prior were to be able to allow kids to maintain what they've learned in schools and to set them up for success for the next year. But it's more than that now. It's a retraining them on how to just be able to socially interact with each other, how to behave properly in social situations. It's like everybody became like wild over that time frame. And it's, yeah, everyone was feral, and we have to like bring them back. So, you know, in a lot of those areas, it's really important.
Yeah, so I'll bring us to the place where that comes up, and let's figure out how to make it maybe add on to this or improve it, or so it comes up under coordination, the coordination and funding section for recreation, because it's sort of a lot of these touch on partnerships, and but it seems like like the PRC is already doing, you know, has some robust programs. So I think what would be good to put in here that could enhance that and take it further to address what you're talking about. I guess the first one sort of is pretty vague. Provide and expand on youth programs. So I guess that would be where we need to focus. Second one is about senior services more, and then the third one is about community gardening.
I mean, I'll think about this a little bit more, and I can send you an email, but like one of the things we collaborated with Littleton Public Schools, and we did a 7-part series with a motivational speaker, and he focused on each of these issues like individually. And we ended up paying him like $5,000 to come for the 7-week series. And he was amazing. And he really had a huge effect on the kids that attended. So, you know, more things like that are a little bit more specialized. I think those things can really help the community. And it wasn't just the kids, like the parents came. You came, Saul, too, if you, right?
I do. I mean,
Yeah. So, yeah.
In that first sentence.
Yeah.
You know, before you have the actual type of programs, continue to provide and expand PRC youth programs that develop both physical and mental
Emotional
well-being of right.
No, I like that. Yeah, you can do mental and emotional, social and emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't
I
like
think,
that?
no, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine there. I think it needs to be highlighted somewhere more in either the objectives or the goals as a higher level thing, as opposed to the particular action.
And that's what I was stating. So like when you're looking at the overall goal number 2, if that's the one that's like focused on recreation, it just says promote community health. So is
physical
that enough?
It's not, it's not just physical. That assumes physical, right?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how you read it. Community health. Health is health.
But do you want to be more specific?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Should we make that more specified?
I mean, when I think of recreation, I think of physical recreation.
Yeah.
It's not an automatic for me to.
Right. It's a lot more than that now.
It is,
Yeah.
And maybe, right, so maybe it's called, maybe it's an extra line or two, like, something.
I also think another place to elevate this would be under implementation is to provide something direct, an objective directly about this. So right now, I think all the implementation objectives are about infrastructure, or mostly about infrastructure improvements.
Yeah.
So what would be a good, I think that's where we can add an objective that's about programming and provide a menu of, or a list of actions that address different types of programming.
Okay. Can you make like a placeholder for that, and I will think about that a bit more?
Yeah, great. I'm
I
could put it at the very top if you prefer that, right? Sort of everything is about infrastructure, so it doesn't make sense to break that up.
What was that? Move that improved the heart.
surfaces, Hartwell,
Yeah, these are,
it
a
won't be
number,
apparently.
number of bike ped recommendations.
Oh, that's the connecting.
I'll put
How
it
do you know about
at
that?
the top here.
There's endangered species in there, but that's okay.
Oh, well then,
Well, but you gotta mow trail. You can,
Yeah, you're not gonna pave it, but yes.
yeah, but something.
do the little
It's a
like
flash
type
through. Wait, what?
pathway.
So I'm done. Keep flashing.
Keep going.
Jack, you'll resend this version around that you've been typing up?
Sure, yeah, if you'd like me to, would everyone like that?
Yeah,
Yes,
that'd be
yeah.
helpful.
Okay.
You consolidate it and remove the colors, the tracks. Be one.
Well, I won't remove the track changes unless if you want me to, I will. If you have track changes, you can just do simple markup and you don't even see them. So yeah, but if they're no longer useful now, you've seen them. I'll just get rid of all of those then. That makes it easier for printing out.
Give us a fresh start for
Okay.
changes going forward.
Hmm.
Hey, Jack, I like the way you pulled in a lot of things from the like BPAC plan. That was very helpful that you did that.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, it went on the side of including more than less. But hopefully that doesn't feel duplicative.
I mean, it's good
Part of-
to force it, you know, that's something that's gonna help everything, so, yeah.
I think part of it is more than less is good at this point, and then next week we'll have the review with whoever shows up, and then you guys will all be looking at it some more, and then we can see which of these things do we really have enough, are they enough of a priority to actually spend money and time on?
And
Yeah.
where did 2B3 come from? Was that left over or was that the, oh, no, we just went past it. Identify accessible trail improvements for 2 to 3 conservation areas.
Yeah, I wanted to get your take on that, Amy. So this is sort of going, go ahead, Peter.
I think that was one of our suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is, it's very fundable. The State Trails program is all over accessible trails now. And there's sort of a growing understanding that some of those can be flat and fully accessible, but also there's a lot of interest in this Forest Service accessibility guidelines trails. Which
yeah,
is,
because that should be Forest Service, not Forest Served.
indeed.
It almost
I
makes
was
sense
like,
both
what's
ways,
that mean?
but that's okay.
Okay.
Fast typing.
Part of forest bathing is to serve the forest.
Right.
And part of the issue with some of that is we just got the Mass Trails grant, which means we're probably not gonna get another one for a little while.
Yeah,
So there's always that kind of
Yeah,
cyclical
it's
issue.
7 years, so it's,
yeah,
hope we can get another one in 7 years.
within, right, yeah.
I can guarantee you I won't be here in 7 years.
Well, part of it is looking at your existing trail system and looking at opportunities.
No, there's some great opportunities.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think particularly what's often overlooked is that people who need accessible trails want trails that are more than just flat and boring sort of loops through fields,
yeah,
right? So look, it's sort of, it really
There
pays.
are good opportunities. The one at Long Lake was an example, but there's only parking for 1 or 2.
yeah.
So there's the domino effect of having to set something up. Oh, Colonial Drive.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the path in from the church,
From the church,
next to
yeah,
the church.
that's the way I go.
First part is would need a lot of work. There is a
But it's
road-ish,
flattish, and when you get up to that road,
yeah,
I don't remember how steep that is, but
not too bad.
the other one I like is getting over to the
Back here.
boardwalk here,
Yeah, that.
over to the
boardwalk's
school
awesome.
and the back way.
Yeah.
through To
Yeah.
the town center.
Yep.
Got a steep slope right here.
Yeah.
Most
That's
people
cool.
go into the library, take the elevator and
I mean, good.
just when the library's open. Otherwise, they're staying.
Go down the road.
I don't think they allow that. I'm guessing they would frown on that, the ADA compliant people. It's
No.
compliant Monday through Thursday.
No,
Right, I know.
No, I say use the access to the emergency road.
Yeah,
That's what
it's a bit steep, yeah. Woohoo!
So, I mean, I know
You
people,
going up, you going down?
I know people who will go down that,
Oh,
two
clear.
wheels.
It's going up as sometimes.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Anyway, all right, I do have to go.
and that concludes,
And that concludes.
our meeting. That's what you guys gotta close it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in
Where did
favor?
they go?
Aye.
Aye.